Testing 1 2. Well, we're back, and we're back so that we can share part 2 with you in this moment and in this season where upheaval, chaos, and injustice is reigning at an unbelievable rate. As I shared with you, I said I was coming back later, and I wanted to be able to share something with you so that you will have that, and that you will know the real perpetuity behind what we are doing and the direction that we are going in. And that is overwhelmingly important for me to be able to share that and to get that out to you so that you will know what's going on and the direction the Lord is leading us in day 1 of our fasting. And so I see many of you are coming on board. Let me cut this volume down. And for that, we are overwhelmingly grateful that you're a part of our audience for this evening on a Friday evening. And we know that many of you have many things that you could be doing and other things, but the fact that you have come to share with us means the world to us. So I see you, Pat and Carolyn, Michelle, Laverne, Tom, Cecile. I see you as you are coming on board. Want to give just another minute or two, and then we will begin our session. And we just want Thea, I see you as you're coming on board, and just grateful to God that you are here with us. And thank you. Good. Thank you so much. Barbara, I see each and every one of you that are coming on, and we just want to take another minute or so that people will know that we are on. Make sure that you share. Make sure you share. Pastor Good to see you. Landis, good to have you with us. I wanted to share, and I also have a strategy. What's up, Amir? I understand you're in the hospital, man. But I'll check up on you a little bit later. I'll be praying for you. That's my grandson, and I'll be praying for you that your breathing gets better and that all is well with you and yours. I'm going to wait just another minute again. I did not put it out there that I was coming on at this particular time, but I needed to share a couple of things with you. As many of you know, and if you don't know, what we've done is we have partnered with Bishop Clark from First Church in Columbus. He has called for a national 40 days of fasting and prayer. That's what he's called for. At first, the perpetuity behind it was to be able to have us prepared and prayed for the election that is coming up. And then when we got the determination of one of the most unbelievable tragedies and travesties, where a police officer is going to be prosecuted for bullets that went into another apartment, and no one is going to be prosecuted for killing her while she was in her sleep. When that verdict came down, I just about lost my mind. I didn't know what to do. I felt horrible. Hey, Ayana, how are you? And so I needed to share something with you, and then we can move on from there. I appreciate those that prayed for me and prayed with me. That meant the world to me, to know that I have some people who are lifting me up in prayer. Now, the Bible is real clear, and I think this is something that many times we overlook, and it's found in the Gospel recorded by Matthew chapter 17. And in that gospel, John, good to see you. In that gospel, it talks about something that happened. And when Jesus was up on the Mount of Transfiguration, the other disciples were left at the foot of the mountain. And while they were there, they had been anointed, and they had, excuse me, seen some of the most miraculous and powerful things that had ever taken place at their hand, not realizing that there's a part that the disciples needed to participate in, and they were negligent in doing so. And so, because they were negligent in doing so, they actually believed that they could do whatever they wanted to do the way they wanted to do it, and everything would be just fine. And so, while Jesus and three of the disciples were up on the mountain, a man brought his son to them, and the thing that was amazing is that they had been so accustomed to demons obeying them and doing what they commanded them to do, and then all of a sudden they came in contact with an epileptic, and he suffered horrible seizures, and all kinds of things happened to him. And the funny thing about it was, out of all that they said, out of all that they tried to perform, out of all that they attempted to do, they found themselves in a position where the demon was not paying them any attention whatsoever. And the father became even more frustrated, because, and you got to think about this for just a moment, whenever you see God moving in the life of someone else, and it appears, listen to what I'm saying, it appears that God has passed you by, or that God is really not paying you any attention, it can get you frustrated. It can get you to the point where you're like, okay, God really doesn't care anything about me. But this is not true, because in the midst of this, there is something that we all need to learn from this encounter. And so Jesus now comes down off of the mountain, and as he comes down, the Father approaches him. And when he approaches him, he says, here's what I did. I brought this my son that I love and that I care for dearly to your disciples, and there was absolutely nothing they could do. Nothing. No matter what happened, nothing could be done. And so in the midst of this, Jesus tells them, you faithless generation, and it'll be a bad day when Jesus, whom you've been walking with and talking with and proclaiming that you have this powerful relationship with, and all of a sudden he basically says, you really don't have it going on like you think you do. And so he turns around and does this, and in the midst of that, he challenges them about their faith. And so the disciples come to him privately, and because they've been humiliated, they have been on top of the world. There has been so many miraculous things that have been done at their hands, and now all of a sudden they have found themselves in a position where this situation is not paying it any attention. And Jesus rebukes the demon, and he comes out of the child. He was cured at that very moment. And so the disciples came to Jesus privately. Can you imagine how they felt after all that they had tried to do and all that they had tried to say? And Jesus turns around. Hey, Shahila, how you doing, girl? Good to see you this evening. Praying that all is well with you in Columbus. Okay. And so he turns around and says, it's because of your unbelief. It's your unbelief. It's not that God wouldn't do it. It's not that God's hand would not operate through your life. The reason that it didn't happen is because you actually didn't believe in what you were asking for. This is a powerful thing that we need to recognize and to understand. In order for God to bless you, we've got to quit depending on other people to believe what we ourselves are not believing for anyway. And then there was a situation where Jesus challenged the man, if you could only believe it's possible, and he turned around and said, but help my unbelief. he understood clearly that in him petitioning God to help his unbelief, he recognized that there's the possibility that he was not able to believe God like he needed to. But the problem with the disciples is you couldn't tell them that, because they were all of that because of who they were hanging out with. And so Jesus turns around and says, if you just had the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to the mountain, move from here to there, and it will be done, because nothing will be impossible. However, this is the funny thing about this. He says, yeah, you can say for things to move, but in order for people to be blessed, however, this kind does not go forth or come out except through fasting and prayer. That brings me to my point of day one. This brings me to my point for us to understand and recognize. In the tumultuous times in which we are living in the perilous times that we are living in the era and the time of racial injustice, in the midst of all the chaos and all of these people who have been killed at the hands of officers, in the midst of, I think I saw where a executive order was signed or whatever concerning health care means absolutely nothing. In these moments of chaos, when the fury of racism is being stoked at the highest level, in the midst of all of the things that are going on, we better, that's what this 40 days is for. You need to sacrifice something. I made it up in my mind that I'm going to do the Daniel fast. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to believe God. I'm not telling you what kind of fast to do. Listen to what I'm saying. Do not do a fast that you are not prepared for. Talk to your doctors. Make sure that everything is all right for you to do that, because you don't want to have any physical mishaps to take place. But here's what I'm saying. I am believing God for victory. I am believing God for overcoming power. I am believing God for righteousness and justice. Why? Because we've been buking and binding and rebuking, but we have not been fasting and we have not been praying like we should. We're quoting 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people, but the key is, are we his people? Are we really situating ourselves? And the fast will come to an end on election day. Here's what I'm saying. Now, we are moving forward. This is day one. This is part two. Letting you know that in order for God to move, not just in the racistic and the pandemic and all of the other craziness that's going on out in the world, we need God to also perform some miracles in our lives. We need him to do something for us, because you got to remember, until the disciples understood that the first transformation that has to be made is within them, nothing else they came in contact with would change. Can I say that again? Until the disciples recognize that the transformation that needs to take place must be, first of all, within them. Because unless they have been transformed, unless they have been changed, unless their positioning of who they claim to be in Jesus Christ has not been solidified through the sacrifice of fasting and prayer, they will never impact the lives of anybody else. So that's what I'm saying. Now, I've got one more thing that I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to share this with you because this is important, because many of us do things unconsciously. Hear what I'm saying, Katrina. Hear what I'm saying. For those of you that don't pay attention to what you're doing, especially driving around at night, you need to pay attention to what you're doing. You need to go and do your shopping or whatever you need to do during broad daylight. And I know you don't want to hear that, because many of us have habits that we have. It gets darker earlier now. There's some crazy people out here who are listening to crazy things. I'm going to say it one more time. There are some crazy people out here who are listening to crazy things, and I don't want to see anybody become another victim. We've got enough of them as it is. No, they had no business shooting those officers. No, it was wrong for them to do that. They never should have did it, but two wrongs don't make a right. And so all I'm saying is pay attention to your environment. If someone knocks on your door, you make sure you look through that door as quick as possible so you'll know exactly who it is. I'm not saying that the same thing is going to happen again, but we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Pay attention to where you park. Pay attention to your environment. Pay attention. I'm not trying to create paranoia. That's not what I'm trying to do. But too many of us pay attention to nothing. We're on our phones. We're having conversations. We are walking around mindless because for the most part, we've never had to do anything like this before. But between now and November 3rd, we best pay attention to the environment that we are in, because God knows what's going to unleash if things don't go a certain way, or no matter which way it goes, there's going to be pandemonium and chaos. And that's all I'm trying to share with you. I'm trying to share this with you because I love you. I'm trying to share this with you because I care. I try to share this with you so that you can pay more attention to your environment. But in the midst of your environment, you need to Matthew 6:33. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. I just wanted to stop by for just a moment and to share that little bit with you so that you would know where we were at on day one. Seek the Lord. This is the first day of the 40 days of fasting. This is the first day. We've got 30 more days to go. Let's set our affections on things above. Oh, I wish I had somebody that understood. I know not many of you are on here today because I'm on a Friday and I didn't announce myself, but just share it with somebody. Share it with somebody so that they can understand clearly. Let us stop listening to the rhetoric. Let us not assume things. Let us make sure that no matter what happens, we have positioned ourselves, first of all, in Christ. Secondly, here we go. Here's the next piece. You need to vote. You need to vote. Not telling you who to vote for. You need to vote, okay? Yeah, okay, I got it. I know exactly what it is, Pastor Good. I'm getting ready to correct it right now. That should take care of that. Plus, I'm outside. I hope that made it just a little bit better for you. Because you're probably hearing the trucks and the cars that are going down the street. Okay, I'm glad you appreciate these little short teachings that I do. They don't last any more than 10 minutes. They're not midweek. They're not what we do on Wednesday. They are just little snippets that we would be able. Yeah, I'm outside, and that's why it's kind of distorted, Pastor Good. I did make some adjustments to try to make that just a little bit better. But listen, I'm getting ready to go. I'm getting ready to relax my mind and sit back and have an enjoyable evening. But please, ma'am, please, sir, please pay attention to what I've said. Please go to Matthew chapter 17. When you go there, see what the Lord is saying about the importance of fasting and prayer. We are in day one. This is day one. We will not end until November 3rd, to the glory of God. You have a great weekend. May the Lord bless you and keep you is our prayer.